Hey, it's Jesse from the Vegas Guys Locker Room. You guys ever thought about starting your own podcast? Whether it be for business, personal, or simply talking about the things you love? Well, I can honestly say when we started our podcast, it was the best decision and it's the most fun we've ever had. But starting a new podcast can be overwhelming at times. And that's where Buzzsprout comes in. Buzzsprout is the best way to start your own professional podcast. They're so good, they've already helped out over 100,000 podcasters get their message out to the world. Buzzsprout offers you so many tools, like a great-looking podcast website, audio players that you can drop into other websites, detailed analytics to see how people are listening, and tools to promote your episodes, and more and more and more. Buzzsprout even gets your show listed on every major podcast platform, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. They provide so many tools to help you get started with tutorials on YouTube, podcast tutorials, everything you may need to get your journey started. So if you're looking to start your professional podcast today, follow the link in the show notes. This lets Buzzsprout know that we sent you and help support our show. Buzzsprout, the easiest way to start a podcast. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Vegas Guys Locker Room. I am again once joined by George. How we doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm a little under the weather. I have some hernia issues, so I'm sitting here on the couch, kind of like letting those calm down. But yeah, overall, I'm doing good. Looking forward to this upcoming season, and always great to be back on Vegas Guys Locker Room.
Man,
thanks for the invite.
You're letting that age catch up to you, buddy.
Oh, I'm telling you, brother. Once I turn 50, it's like I'm like on a downhill slide here. I don't know. But I'm getting there. I've had some hernia issues, and so I'm trying to just take care of that.
Yeah, no worries, man. Always good to have you on the show, man. I always love it when you're on here. You really got some good information.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, guys. Well, today's show, we're going to talk about the state of the running back. Everybody knows that there's a lot going on with the running backs, everything that's going on with them. They want to get paid. Nobody wants to risk the money, especially even draft capital to get running backs nowadays. So we'll talk about a few things on that. And then we'll also get into our running backs boom or bust, a sleepers edition. We'll look at some of the guys in the top 10 running backs that we feel could fall out, and a couple of them that we believe will make their way into the top 10, including a couple long shots. So let's get this ball rolling, guys. So George, state of your running back. I know you've looked up some facts on this. With everything going on, how is this going to affect the league?
Listen, I did some research over the last few weeks, and we all kind of know what happened with the Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley issues there with contracts, and there was some type of like Zoom symposium with the running backs talking about how they're kind of treated unfairly because of the position and the beating their body takes and blah, blah, blah. But the research that I've done and the numbers that I've actually seen, it's kind of crazy. I've always been the kind of guy that I believe if you sign a contract, you should, live up to that contract. And if you've done well enough, hopefully the team gives you another long-term deal.
Mm-hmm.
But after looking at these numbers, I've kind of switched. I've kind of made it. I look at it in a different way, and here's why. So here's what I've done. So there's a gentleman on CBS Sports. I'll give a shout out to Tyler Stephenson. He wrote a great article on this whole issue, and so I just want to read off some of the numbers this guy has come up with, and it's really astounding what you're going to hear, I think. So from 2000 to 2010, you're talking an 11-year stretch, there were 35 running backs selected in the first round of the NFL draft. That number was essentially cut in half from 2011 to 2023. A 13-year stretch, there were only 18 running backs picked in the first round.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, it's amazing. Everybody thinks it's running back, but really it's really changed in how this league has changed from, running back league to a wide receiver league. I mean, let's be honest. Look at the ADP. Look at the players now that are taken in the first round over running backs in the first round.
Yeah.
So, I try to look at it from the owner side of this first. Listen, there's been some bad deals made over the last 5, 6, 7 years.
Oh, of
one
course.
being Todd Gurley. Okay, we all loved Todd Gurley when he was healthy. Fortunately, had the bad injury, but he had signed a $60 million deal at that time. And don't get me wrong, you signed a deal, you live up to it. Owners, just as much at fault there.
Mm-hmm.
But it handcuffs teams when those kind of deals are done. Another perfect example is Ezekiel Elliott signing $90 million deal. Let's be honest, he wasn't really the same player the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Le'Veon Bell, $52 million. This guy's out of the league. So don't get me wrong. The owners, I get it. I get it from their side of it. But now I'm looking more at the player side of it. And I'm going to read off some more numbers here. So you can franchise, these teams can franchise players, and the franchise tag is essentially you're signing that player to a 1-year deal with an average annual salary of the top 5 players in that position. I want to read this. This was amazing to me. I still can't believe it when I look at it. So the average running back currently makes, and I'm going to round these numbers, makes $1.8 million a season. The only positions that running backs make more than are long snappers, punters, and fullbacks.
Wow.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Wow.
Okay, that is amazing. Okay. The average kicker earns more than the average running back in the NFL.
Ooh.
Now, granted, there are more running backs than kickers in the league. Okay, yeah. Every team holds 3, maybe even 4 running backs. Okay, I kind of get it.
Hold on, now. I got to sign my son up for soccer now.
Exactly. Get him signed up as quickly as possible. So like I said, Tyler Sullivan from CBS Sports wrote this, and he broke down these numbers. So franchise tag from 2015 to 2023, quarterbacks, $18.5 million in 2015, $32.5 million in 2023. Okay, and I can go right on down the line. Linebacker franchise tag from in 15 was $13 million. Franchise tag now for 2023 is basically $21 million. So like I said, I can go right on down the line. But when it gets to running back, quite a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Running back, the only position from 2015 to 2023 that actually went down in franchise tag, which is incredible to me. 2015 franchise tag, $10.1 million. 2023, barely over $10 million.
You're saying that's the only position that dropped?
That is the only position that dropped. Every other position that I'm looking at, I'm talking every position, defense also, wide receiver, defensive end, defensive tackle, offensive lineman, quarterback, safety, tight end, have all gone up significantly, not barely, but significantly have gone up. The running back position is the only position that has actually gone down since 2015 to now 2023 for the franchise tag price.
Yeah.
So, I kind of get it from the player standpoint. These guys, their bodies take such a beating. I can't blame Jonathan Taylor. I can't blame Josh Jacobs, especially Jacobs. Last year he ran the ball. He touched the ball, I think 370 times. It was some ridiculous amount of touches. Let me see, 340 rushing attempts last year. Don't get me wrong, these guys make a lot of money, but I kind of get it, based on this whole running back situation. After reading these numbers, I kind of get it from the running back, from the player standpoint, more so than the owner standpoint.
Oh, of course.
So there's just some numbers. Yeah, I just want to throw out some numbers there. It's pretty incredible the difference, based on position that these players are making. So
yeah, and it's showing across the league too. I believe the best comparison to that is, look at your Pittsburgh Steelers. You have Najee Harris, who was a first-round pick.
Yep.
You gave up a lot of draft capital to pick this man up in the first round. His backup is Jaylen Warren. arguably that's going to be a backfield by committee. It's like you said, I believe on the last show you talked about how it's probably going to be like a 60-40 split.
I don't think there's any doubt.
Jaylen Warren went undrafted. Yep. So you're essentially with a 60-40 split, you're saying both of these players are just as good as one another, and yet you took one in the first round and one went undrafted.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I do think, I mean, me being a Steeler fan, I follow them. But, yeah, I do think that's going to be a split backfield. If you've watched the preseason, it's already showing. I watched the game last night against Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
I thought both of them looked great. I mean, granted, they were going against the second and third teamers, but I thought both of them looked excellent. Looked like Najee kind of slimmed down, had a little more giddy
burst.
Up. But a little more burst. Jaylen Warren, he's that, scat back guy that has the quickness that can get through that line quick. But, getting back to your point, I think that is a definite backfield, where it's going to be two-headed monster, really.
Yeah, I think more teams are going that way. I mean, look at the stats on passing plays compared to running plays. I mean, if you take out the two top rushing teams from last year, passing play percentage was over 57%. You're looking, that's insane. I mean, you're really only using a running back for running the football about 40% of the time.
Right.
And now if you're going split, so basically you're only using each guy 20% of the game.
That's exactly right.
In a rushing situation. So, I mean, I can see the value from the business standpoint, and I also see the player standpoint. Well, they want to get paid because it is a brutal position. You're sacrificing your body. It's a very short-lived career. We've talked about it. Running backs peak at 24 years old.
Usually the downslide comes about 27, 28 years old. So these running backs that are out there now, like I said, to Derrick Henry or, some of these guys, 29, 30 years old, especially Derrick Henry, who's, really.
I think he's 31 now.
A lot. I mean, a lot of touches over the last 5-6 years. Incredible, touches over the last 5-6 years. Yeah, I could maybe, see a downslide there for him.
Oh, absolutely.
But these guys, I get it from the player standpoint more so now. We see them as kind of greedy or, they want the big contract. After reading these numbers, I from the running back standpoint, yes. I'm talking, I kind of get it. I really do. I kind of get it. So
yeah, because essentially you're only getting two contracts. You're getting that rookie deal where you're not going to make a whole lot of money. And then you have to capitalize on that second contract because usually more times than not, you're out of the league by the time you're 30 and you've got no chance of making more money as a running back.
Absolutely. I mean, look at Tom Brady. He played till he was 40, from when he was 21 till he was 45.
Mm-hmm.
Running backs, you have no chance. You're like you said, you got about a 7-year window there, 8 years if you're lucky, and that's it. You're kind of done.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I get it from the player standpoint more so now than before.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, yeah, I mean, it's and I don't blame him. I'd be doing the same thing. I'd be trying to get my money before my career ended to make sure I was taken care of, especially the beating they take. So, but yeah, no, that was really great stuff. I mean, yeah, everybody's been wondering about this. Jonathan Taylor, of course, has been seeking that trade. I'm kind of curious. I mean, it's even more in the air that. Do you think it's possible they move on from him?
I think they move on if they get the right deal. I mean, they're asking for a first-round pick, or from what I understand, Miami made an offer and the Colts rejected it.
Mm-hmm.
I get the feeling just based on the last couple of days, I think he is going to move on. I think somebody is going to make a deal for him. Miami has the capital to do it, has the money to do it. From a salary cap standpoint, I think Philadelphia is still in on it.
Mm-hmm.
I think every chance at it. So, I think he is going to. I think he is going to go somewhere in the next few days. I get that feeling.
Yeah, I'm curious on the Miami situation because they had Dalvin Cook in there, and I don't know what it was. I don't know what they offered him, but to go up to New York and not sign with his hometown, Miami.
Yeah. Right.
Was the offer that bad? Are they not willing to pay a running back? And you're going to have to trade the draft capital, but you're also going to have to pay Jonathan Taylor on top of it.
No doubt about it. He isn't going to go there on a 1-year deal.
No.
He's going to, if he goes, he's trying to get a long-term deal. Obviously, if that's the case in Indianapolis, but I get the feeling he's going to move on here in the next. I think he has until Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, to get a deal done.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Would it would it be bad if you ended up like in Chicago that has the salary cap and the draft capital, but you kind of end up in the same situation you are in Indianapolis?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Jonathan Taylor, I'm trying to go to a team where I think he's going to win now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not into. Do I think Chicago's better? Absolutely, they're better than the last 2, 3, 4 years. But I think Miami is built to kind of win now.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, if he goes to Miami, I think that makes them a top contender.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm putting them up there with Buffalo, Kansas City. I think they're going to be that good with the Jonathan Taylor in the backfield.
Absolutely. Offensively, I think they're going to be great. It's the defense that's going to be always their biggest question going forward. But yeah, I mean, it's a tough division too. Tough division. Both the Bills and the Jets have solid defenses, so it's going to be a good division. That division, that AFC East and that AFC North that you have, I think are going to be the two top divisions, especially in the AFC. Those teams are stacked.
Yeah, the AFC North, with Baltimore, Cincinnati, and then I think Pittsburgh is kind of coming up from the bottom there. They had a couple of rough years the last year or two, but I get the feeling they may be on their way back.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think Cleveland's going to be improved. I think Deshaun Watson, now that he has kind of a year under his belt with the Cleveland system, I think Cleveland's going to be better this year also.
Nice. All right. Well, listen, thanks for all that info. We're gonna move on. We're gonna go with our sleepers and bust pick. First, we're gonna start with our guys that we believe are potential busts. These are the guys that right now are going as top 10 running backs. We believe that they probably won't finish the year as a top 10 running back. George, who do you have? What's your 2 picks that you believe will not be in the top 10?
Well, my first pick I just touched on a few minutes ago, and it's Derrick Henry. And listen, I love Derrick Henry. The guy's been terrific since he stepped into the league. But I just get the feeling that the age is going to catch up with him, and here's why. So his rushing attempts over the last 5 years, he's touched it just rushing now 1,464 times. Okay, on top of that, you add in another 103 receptions. That's 1,567 total touches in the last 5 years. You're averaging about 312 touches per year. That's a lot of touches over the last 5 years. Don't get me wrong, the guy is terrific, always comes to camp in shape, but I just get the feeling it's going to catch up to him this year.
I mean, you look at it, the last couple of years, he's gotten hurt, where it wasn't the case.
He's been banged up a little bit. Correct. Yeah, he's been banged up a little bit. And like I said, he's at that 29, 30-year-old range with all those touches. I get the feeling that if there's anybody that could potentially fall out of the top 10 as far as his ADP, I think it could be him.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you there. Just looking at the past couple of years, missing games, you could always depend on Derrick Henry playing the entire season. Even when they were out of playoffs, he did not care. He was always in the game. Yeah,
like I said, this guy's always in top shape, comes into camp ready to go. And listen, I could be wrong here. This is just speculation on my part, but based on age and the touches over the last 5-6 years and some injury risk there, I think that's a guy that could, potentially decline over this year.
Absolutely. Especially in PPR leagues with guys,
absolutely.
They're utilizing these backs as almost receivers. That's not Derrick Henry's strong suit. I know they did it a little bit last year and it looked awkward as hell. Him trying to catch the football.
He had 33 receptions last year, which is the most he's had in the last 5 years.
Absolutely. And none of them were pretty. I mean, each catch was not smooth.
Exactly.
All right, who's your second guy?
My second guy is Josh Jacobs. And listen, he's still obviously a younger guy, but I'm saying that only because at this point he's not in camp, which equals, an injury concern for me if he should come back in the next week or two. And it kind of goes back to last year. And I look at last year, I believe he was number one last year, number one running back.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Last year. And he had 340 rushing attempts, which is a lot. But I kind of did a breakdown here of why he had 340 rushing attempts. I think one is, a couple of guys were hurt from the wide receiver tight end position, Waller and Renfro, which I think gave him more opportunities. So maybe those numbers are a little inflated. Do I think he's going to go for 1,600 yards again? Probably not.
Yeah.
Renfro was healthy this year. So that's a guy that I think right now, I think Fantasy Pros has his ADP at running back 8, overall 23.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a guy just that could slip a little bit. I still think he's a top 15 back. Don't get me wrong, but yes. I just, just based on the situation now with him not being in camp, I think he could, maybe potentially fall out of the top 10 there.
Yeah, of course. I mean, and you look at, his average of what he's done his first few years in the league, minus last year, there's going to be that natural regression back to a little bit more normal of what he's been doing. So, like you said, I agree with you. Top 15, I don't think he finishes as a number 1 running back this year. I think that was just he got so much work.
Yeah, I would be shocked if he ends up, number 1 again. But listen, it all comes down to, let's be honest. You could talk about any top 10 player at their position. It all comes down to staying healthy and the situation that they're in. Now, like I said, he's in a situation where he's not even in camp yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just afraid. Same with Jonathan Taylor, not in there yet. If they bring him back, there's that injury risk there where maybe you get the hamstring or you tweak the ankle and that would knock him out of most likely a top 10 finish. So like I said, that's just my 2 picks there.
My curiosity, especially with Jacobs, they went out and got Jimmy Garoppolo for quarterback. He already knows Josh McDaniel's system. Do they go back? I mean, kind of that New England style of offense with the quick passing that Tom Brady made so efficient, because Garoppolo was very good at that. I mean, that was why when he was traded, he went for what I believe it was a 2nd-round pick. So that is a high trade for a backup quarterback to make your start. He was always accurate. He was good at those short, intermediate passes. He has a quick release. Do they tend to go to that route? I'm curious. Last year you didn't have that. You had Derek Carr, who likes to throw the ball down the field.
Right. That's a really good point. And I think they do go back to that, to be honest with you. Jimmy G's not that guy that's going to throw it 60 yards down the field like a Derek Carr. So, and you got Devontae Adams, you got Renfro. Yeah, and hopefully Josh Jacobs out of the backfield, he can catch some passes. I think maybe they do go that route.
Yeah.
Jimmy G's not that guy that is going to go too vertical on you, like I said, like a Derek Carr. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it is possible that they kind of go that route.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 2 good picks. I know I looked at both of them as my guys to fall out of the top 10. I did go with the 2 that I'm most concerned about. We kind of touched on one earlier with the Jonathan Taylor, just the contract situation. Is he going to be in camp? Health-wise, everybody, it just seems like that whole situation, somebody's lying. Who is he hurt? Is he not hurt? Is this just strategy to get a contract? I mean, that's my biggest question.
Yeah, it's a good question. And, I think when this whole thing came out, with the contract situation, I believe there was some comments made, he had from the Colts side of it, well, he has an ankle injury. Then he kind of said, no, there was no ankle injury. And now there kind of is an ankle.
No, yeah.
I mean, you don't know, you don't know what you're hearing, but yeah, I could clearly see, Jonathan Taylor maybe, not being in the top 10.
No.
And like you said, it's based on the fact that he's not even in camp. Who knows if he's even going to play?
Exactly. Who knows what
he's made the comment he'd hold out. So who knows? But
yeah,
we'll have to monitor that situation.
Yeah, you definitely got to monitor. And then I'm just basing if he does end up being a Colt, if there is no trade partner out there, and say he does play the season and plays with the Colts, he's got the 2 negative factors working for him. Usually, what hurts running backs are rookie QBs because they don't check down the ball a lot. So now you take away the catches. And also, it's mobile quarterbacks hurt because they're going to vulture a lot of touchdowns and some rushing yards. He's got both.
Yeah.
And to me, that hurts him big time.
Yeah, for sure. The situation there in Indianapolis is not good for him. And I agree with your 2 points. With a running quarterback like that in Indianapolis, and the fact that I'm not a big fan of it's Anthony Richardson, correct?
Yes,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. Yeah, we both.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I don't. I didn't think he was that great at Florida, and I think there's a lot of growth that needs to be done there.
Oh,
absolutely. And like you said, and it puts Jonathan Taylor just in a bad situation there if he decides to stay. So,
yeah. I mean, did you see? I think did you see Pittman get hurt last night in the Colts game?
I did not. I did not see that.
He was wide open, and the pass was so bad he literally had to try to fall backwards to try to catch this thing, and then he had to come out of the game. I was like, man, you're so bad and so inaccurate, you hurt your receiver.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's why I was never big. I'm never big on Anthony. Now, can he get there? Possibly. Listen, I never say never. People can get better at this, but right now I'm not a big Richardson fan, especially for the time being. I was actually quite shocked when they named him the starter so early in the preseason.
Yeah, I like I said, I'm not a fan. I think a lot of teams, and it seems to me this way, that they kind of look at, he had the chiseled body, and you got to look at the intangibles there. You got to look at, the accuracy and the system that he played in and his stats and all these things that come into play. There's a lot of quarterbacks out there that aren't chiseled, and Ben Roethlisberger wasn't chiseled, but he was a solid quarterback. The guy's Hall of Fame quarterback. There was a lot of players out there. Tom Brady, Tom Brady didn't have the chiseled body.
No,
greatest quarterback of all time.
Exactly.
So I mean, it's you got to look at other things than just the chiseled body and how they look and how fast they are.
Yeah, it's
look at the stat. Yeah, look at the stats. Look at all the other things that go with that. So I don't know.
Definitely not a bodybuilder contest. It's football, so yeah, it's going to be curious to see that team. But I think that definitely hurts Jonathan Taylor, just bar none. Having both those mobile QB and rookie QB, I think he falls out of the top 10.
I like it.
My second guy was Rhamondre Stevenson. With the Elliott signing, I was big on Stevenson. When they signed Zeke, that really drew concern for me, because why would you sign Ezekiel Elliott? What was he good at last year? What makes you want to sign him this year? He was very efficient inside the 20. That's
no doubt about it.
That's going to vulture those touchdowns away.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Zeke had 12 rushing touchdowns last year.
Something like that. Yeah, I believe it was 12.
I believe it was 12 rushing touchdowns last year. Listen, Zeke's only 28, I think. 27, 8 years old. I think the guy still has some stuff left. Maybe he doesn't have the speed like he did anymore. But give me him inside the 10-yard line, I'll take him all day long.
I'll take him all day long, of course. Yeah, he was really good at that. He's not going to get you those big breakout plays like he used to, but he can certainly move a pile, and he's shifty enough still to wiggle his way into the end zone.
No doubt about it. And I agree with you. I think it does hurt Rhamondre Stevenson from that standpoint.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a good pick as far as, some regression there. I agree with that.
Yeah, and the fact that, listen, Zeke can still catch the ball. He did, he caught the ball in college. He wasn't shy. He didn't get a whole bulk of it when they got Tony Pollard in Dallas, but he's still a phenomenal athlete, and he can catch the ball in the backfield. So I think that takes that's another factor that takes away from Stevenson, that Zeke can do everything that Stevenson can do. Just a little bit of an older running back. Stevenson, I believe, still has the upside as far as pop for long rushes.
For sure. Yeah, I'm looking at. Sorry, I didn't interrupt.
No, you're fine.
I actually looking at Zeke's stats here, and last year he only rushed for about 875 yards, but he did have 12 touchdowns.
Yeah,
which is solid. Very few receiving. He only had 17 receptions last year. But yeah, the rushing there, like you said, inside the 10-yard line, I'll take him all day long. I still think he has those legs. So
yeah, he's like you said, 28 years old, so he's at the back end where he's starting to run. But I still think there's enough juice in there where the right role he can lengthen his career, and I believe this is a good role for him where Stevenson can carry the bulk of it. But when he's getting the touchdowns over Stevenson, that's going to hurt you.
For sure, no doubt about it.
All right, so now we're going to pick some sleeper picks that are guys that are outside the top 10 that we feel with the right, things falling into place could end up in a top 10 running back situation at the end of the year. George, go ahead. We'll start with you. What's your first one?
Well, my first one is probably my highest running back. Not probably, but it's definitely my highest running back outside of the top 10, and that is Jahmyr Gibbs. I am completely sold on this guy. I think he falls into a perfect situation, a solid offense, a very, very good offensive line. You factor in that he's going to be able to run with a David Montgomery, where they're going to be able to switch him in and out. It's almost going to be like an Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram situation at the Saints, 5, 6, 7 years ago. They were, Alvin Kamara was damn near unstoppable. He was just ridiculous. And I get the feeling this guy's going to catch 50 plus passes out of the backfield.
Plus
probably rush plus rush for another, 700-800 yards. I think this guy could definitely be in the top 10 by season's end.
Absolutely.
I think he's like, they didn't waste their first round pick on this guy to sit him. They're obviously going to play him.
Mm-hmm.
Every report out of camp has been he's been fantastic. His blocking ability has been better. And like I said, the guy's 4.3 speed, I believe. I think he's definitely the guy that I think could be inside the top 10 for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, not a lot of people realize this because it was done by committee. But do you realize that the Detroit Lions running back room, as far as a group, was the highest fantasy scoring group in the league?
I didn't know they were the highest. I knew they were probably in the top 5. And another thing is they lose Jamal Williams, who I believe rushed for 16 or 17 touchdowns last year. He's now in New Orleans, but that frees up a lot of space for Gibbs and David Montgomery. But Gibbs, I just think he is a special player, and like I said, I think the offense there is perfect for him. Goff is a solid quarterback. Is he a top 10 or 15 quarterback? Probably not, but I just think the system is right there. And with Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think that offense is going to fly, and I think Gibbs is just in the perfect situation there.
Yeah, call me crazy with the new weapons that they have there in Detroit. The offensive coordinator, who was probably one of the best in the business, and it was in just Jared Goff in its own right. Last year actually was a top 10 quarterback in fantasy.
Okay.
Yeah, we did that. I believe he was number 10 exactly. And with the addition of these weapons, and their offensive line looks great. And that defense, I can see everybody on this. I think this is an offense you want a piece of if you're drafting.
I know I do.
Yeah.
If I get a piece of Gibbs or St. Brown or even Goff, I mean, I'd take, is Goff, I don't know what his ADP is, but, ADP he's probably not a top 10 or 12 quarterback, I wouldn't think.
But no, I believe he is going like top, I believe top 20, but I think it's like 16 or something. I'm gonna look that up really quick.
Yeah, getting back to Gibbs, though, like I said, I don't mean to keep repeating myself, but I just think he's in the perfect situation there. With David Montgomery, I think it's a two-headed monster for sure, and top 5 offensive line, just like they were last year. Better defense, and like I said, I'm very, very, very high on Jahmyr Gibbs.
All right, Goff is going 17. He's got number 17, and he's a 17th rated quarterback in ADP.
Yeah, and I think that's probably right. I mean, that I'm sure that's
I mean, that's a fair position for him to be going. But,
for sure.
All right, you gave me one. I'm gonna go ahead and give you one. I really like this player. I know a lot of people are down on him this year, but I like the offense. I want a piece of it. If I'm looking at somebody that right now is outside of the top 10 that could get there because of the workload, like we've talked about, workload is huge if you're getting the volume. I love Joe Mixon, simply because there is nobody else in that backfield room.
Couldn't agree more. And this kind of just goes back to the Detroit Lion Jahmyr Gibbs thing. Great offense, solid offensive line. And there's not much competition. I mean, we know it's going to be Gibbs and Monty in Detroit, just like it's going to be Mixon and there's not, like you said, there's not in Cincinnati, and there's not much competition there. Yeah. I believe Chris Evans is the backup. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Mixon, if you look at it over the last, 4 or 5 years, Mixon has always been, he's one of those like steady Eddie guys. He's just consistent every year.
Yeah.
And he's going to catch some passes for you. and he's obviously going to get the rushing and hopefully, lots of rushing touchdowns. But I like that a lot. I like that pick a lot.
I love it. And every year you see them, they do design plays for Mixon to get the ball inside the red zone for touchdowns. And Joe Burrow is not a running quarterback, so it's a really good situation for Joe Mixon. Really not having. I think he's a clear 3-down back. Yeah, will Chris Evans probably spell him here and there, but I think Mixon is a guy that you could definitely see climb into the top 10 by the end of the year.
And not only that, Samaje Perine's gone. I mean, Samaje Perine caught 50 or 60 passes last year. They say Chris Evans is going to get some of that, but I got to believe a lot of it's going to go to Mixon. Yeah. And with Perine not being there, I think that makes Mixon even more valuable. So, yeah, should be curious to see what goes on there. But yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that's a solid choice there for
I think that's somebody that's probably I think he's still going in the 15 range, running back 15. But I can definitely see him climb into that top 10 easily with the workload he could possibly get if he stays healthy this season.
Of course.
All right, buddy. Yeah. Who's your long shot that you could see making the top 10 possibly?
Well, and this is a real long shot. There's a few of them out there, but I don't think this guy could be, let's say top 10. But I think he's in a good situation, and I'm probably going to get beat up for this one, but I actually like Rachaad White for Tampa Bay.
Hey.
And the reason I say that is Leonard Fournette's gone. Okay, Leonard Fournette, same thing, caught a lot of passes out of the backfield, solid rushing. There's no competition there for Rachaad White. Now, granted, he doesn't have Tom Brady anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, he has drastic decline there in quarterback with Baker Mayfield. Mm-hmm. And I've been on this show a couple of times, and everybody knows my opinion on Baker Mayfield. I'm not a fan. But I just get the feel, they have a pretty solid offensive line still. And I just think without Leonard Fournette, and the fact that I don't think Todd Bowles is going to have Baker Mayfield throwing 40 times like Tom Brady did, I think they are going to utilize Rachaad White a lot more. So I just think he's a guy that could. I think he's going. Let me see if I could find that. I think he's going 28. Okay, so his ADP is 28. I got to believe just on volume, and obviously it depends on health, but I just get the feeling he could be a 15 to 17 range guy by the end of the season. I think he's in a good situation there. Like I said, no competition. Fournette's gone. Ronald Jones is gone. All those guys that were there are gone. And it's his backfield. He owns it. So I just think based on ADP, I just think he could be much better than where he's ranked at.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. No, I mean, there's huge upside with Rachaad White if he does get the bulk of the workload. I mean, I don't think you're going to have a guy with a huge upside, but you are going to have a guy with a very solid high floor that you can count on a weekly basis. So if you were to get like a high upside running back early to pair it with like somebody like a Rachaad White would not be a bad thing.
Yeah, like I said, I just think based on where he's ranked, I think he could. I think it could be a top 15 to 18 guy. So I think the ADP is a little
going at what 20? You said 28.
28, yeah, and running back ADP, correct? Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Yeah, by ADP.
Yeah, yes. He's not better than some of these guys out there. I have a hard time believing he's the 28th ranked running back. Over some guys,
Yeah, especially a guy who's going to get the majority of the workload. I mean, that's tough to imagine. A lot of these guys, like DeAndre Swift is ranked higher. Alvin Kamara is ranked higher, and he's got a suspension coming. Cam Akers.
Yeah, I just think he's in a good situation. There's no competition. He has a pretty solid offensive line. Like I said, I'm not a Baker fan, but no Todd. With Todd Bowles not wanting Mayfield, I'm sure, to throw the ball 30, 40 times a game. I think it creates more opportunities for Rachaad White, and I just think he could beat his ADP.
Absolutely. So I agree with you on that one. I think there's too much volume there to ignore. My guy is actually the one going right ahead of your guy. And my guy is Isaiah Pacheco, and he is going 27th in ADP for amongst running backs. He has got huge upside just simply on the fact that I believe his offense is explosive. If they use him as the every down back, which is remains to be seen, the offensive line there, according to Pro Football Focus, is ranked number 3 in the league. So you got a great O-line there ahead of him. And, man, when that guy runs hard. He runs like he hates the ground.
Yeah.
But Isaiah Pacheco, I think if they utilize him more, I could definitely see him. Like, I agree, maybe not all the way to the top 10, but I definitely think he can be inside that top 15 running back in the league.
He's a guy that runs, like I like to say, he runs angry.
Yes. He
wants to punish you as much as he possibly can. And that might be a little bit of a downfall, really. I mean, I know he's coming off, I believe, maybe shoulder hand injury surgeries. But I agree with you. I mean, he showed some things last year, especially mid-season through the end. And I don't know how much competition there really is there. Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah, I think
Derek Prince.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot left. I mean, did they got rid of McKissick, didn't they? Or did they bring him back?
No, McKissick is gone.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, McKissick. No, it wasn't McKissick. It was
McKinnon.
McKinnon. Jared
I'm sorry.
McKinnon. Yeah.
It was McKinnon. I apologize. Yeah, it was McKinnon. Yeah. McKissick was McKinnon, with Washington. That's right.
Correct. But yeah, you're right. McKinnon is gone. No, McKinnon is not gone. Is he still there? McKinnon.
They bring him back. I know they were holding off. I think they were looking for a replacement, but I think
still there. I think Jarek McKinnon is still there.
Yeah, it was when Pacheco had to have that surgery. I think that's when they re-signed him just for insurance purposes, because as Pacheco, he can catch the ball. He can do everything they need. He's, I know they went with Edwards-Helaire thinking that guy was going to be the next big thing, but yeah, I mean that really hasn't panned out. And
Pacheco has pretty good speed. Like I said, I'm a little concerned maybe with the injury problem there. Mm-hmm. And really, it's because of the way the guy runs. Like I said, he just runs angry. Yeah. He just wants to punish you. But yeah, I mean, I think he's in a good situation there.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. Oh, just so the show goes full circle here, do you know that CEH was drafted ahead of Jonathan Taylor in the draft?
That's shocking.
Yeah.
That's shocking. I did not know that.
Yep.
That's
CEH was drafted higher than Jonathan Taylor. They both went in the same draft, and yeah, Jonathan Taylor went after CEH. Woo, man. Could you imagine that team with Jonathan Taylor on there? Oh, my God.
Frightening. Absolutely frightening.
So, yeah. But, yeah, guys, listen, that's about all the time we've got for the day. George, I want to say a big, huge thank you to you. Thanks for coming on the show, man. It's a lot of fun having you.
Hey, I love it. It's something I've never really done. I've never done any kind of podcast before in the past, and I've been on 3 times. And I love it every time. And it's, fantasy football for me is kind of like a passion for me. I wouldn't say I'm great at it, but I enjoy it so much every year when it comes around, draft days and all the research and stuff that I do. I'm in my element. I enjoy it. And I'm glad I'd be more than happy to come back anytime you want.
Appreciate it, buddy. All right, man. I really thanks for the time today, guys. You guys got a lot of drafts coming up. I know a lot of people are drafting this weekend and throughout the week. Listen, I think I don't know, George. You want to come back next week? We do a mock draft.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we'll do a mock draft online, and we'll do that one, and that'll be fun. And we'll talk about why we're picking our team and how we're setting everything up. We'll do that one.
I love it.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again, George. And listen, guys, have a great draft if you're drafting this weekend. We'll see you next time on the Biggest Guys Locker Room, guys.